Thank you. Thank you for coming here, and thanks for welcoming me. There are a few people on Zoom. For the Zoom attendees, welcome as well. We'll try to field your questions, but if we can't, we'll answer them after the talk. I'm going to be talking about artificial intelligence. Should we be worried? Are we worried? Can I see a show of hands of people who think they're worried? And those who are not? We'll see if anyone changes their mind after the talk. So the purpose of my talk is twofold. First, I'll give you a broad understanding of what AI is, including its diverse uses. Secondly, I'll focus on the unethical uses of AI and what that bodes for our future. A little bit extra about me before I begin. As Tony mentioned, throughout my 45-year career, I have worked with data, first as a geophysicist and later as a cybersecurity architect. I've designed systems that use vast amounts of data to search for oil beneath the ground and under the oceans. I've analyzed vulnerability data to search for security holes in banking and online systems, which have helped me design secure systems for banks and large corporations. I'm therefore not averse to the use of technology and of the use of data. The question to me is really what one uses the technology for. We can talk about the what, how, when, and where of technology, but it is the why that I believe is the most important and the most hidden aspect of the use of any technology. So the talk will be in 5 sections. I will start with some background information. This will help us contextualize the consequences of AI from various aspects: social, economic, political, environmental. All these aspects are affected by the use of AI. Of them, the economic aspect is probably the most important. But most of us may not realize that. And why is that? Because the use of AI and our economic system are not just tightly coupled, they're also hidden from our view, not open for public discussion, not under full democratic control. We all know how much the economic aspect consumes our daily lives. It's almost impossible to live free from it. Could the use of AI swallow our lives without us realizing it? Is it already too late for some? Haven't scared you already. My next section will be, I'll explain what AI is. I'll describe the technologies that underpin it. AI, as you may appreciate, is layered on top of key information technologies, the digital computer, the internet, the mobile phone. More significantly, AI represents a paradigm shift in the way this technology is used. What will this mean for our lives? Will it be beneficial or will it present a danger? In the next section, I'll provide some examples of the beneficial and well-known uses of AI. I'll end this section by explaining what AI cannot do, that is, what AI is not. There are a lot of myths and mystique and disinformation about AI. Some of this disinformation is produced by AI itself. It is difficult to know what to trust and what to believe, anything in the media nowadays. I hope this section will provide some guidance. In the next section, I'll cover the uses of AI that ought to worry us, either because their effects are negative, widespread, or difficult to control. This section highlights the reasons why we need to be careful, not just how AI is used, but who is in control of it. In the last section, I will summarize the benefits and dangers of AI. I'll make you aware of where we may be heading in terms of our freedom and democracy. Finally, I'll conclude with what you can do individually to mitigate the risks, but these may not be enough. The powers that own and are in control of AI are becoming immensely strong. Our collective action may be the only recourse. time-wise, where are we? Sorry. We are in the middle of a work in progress. The shape of AI is evolving. It's difficult to predict what will happen next. The changes are happening faster than we are able to understand and adapt to them. Exponential changes are the norm for all technologies, but AI tech changes are happening within our lifetime in months, not decades or years. It is therefore not a surprise that many of us find ourselves confused. AI didn't happen out of the blue. From the abacus, and for thousands of years, humans have been inventing devices for computation. Since the water wheel and the windmills, we have been inventing devices for computation and automation. But it was the digital computer, first conceived by Alan Turing, an English mathematician, that gave us an ingenious technology to carry out both computation and automation. The invention of the internet and the mobile phones gave us what we now call the cyberspace, where a person can connect with another person anytime and at any place. Then we had the Internet of Things that connected a wide array of machines with each other in the cyberspace. On top of all that comes AI. So that's the background of existing technologies. The state of the world today. Who are the big players in the world and what is happening in the world today? We have the big banks, the big techs, and the big pharmas, AI dominating our everyday lives. We have high social and economic inequality. There's suppression of dissent and a weakening of democracy, a military-industrial complex waging wars of aggression and threatening to destroy any nation that stands in its way, a rising global south, challenging the hegemony of America. On top of this, we have the crisis of climate change. The world could not be more unstable. Now, if you add technology to this mix, especially AI, what do you expect would happen? This is the background we have to consider. The next section is, what is AI? AI is a computing algorithm that performs tasks that normally require human intelligence. Sorry, I'm just going to go back a little bit. So the AI is a computing algorithm that performs tasks that normally require human intelligence. By intelligence, I'm referring to learning, reasoning, decision-making, perceiving, and language understanding. This algorithm can perform these tasks without being explicitly programmed for every task that it performs. They perform them in the algorithm's own way, based on what it has learned about this task from data fed to it by us. In other words, they have been trained to perform these tasks. I'll explain how they learn shortly. What does AI require? It requires a massively interconnected machines. It requires to be fed on vast data sets, and it needs large energy resources. Tomorrow's AI infrastructure will probably need their own nuclear power reactors, which many of them have commissioned. They require also massive investments that only the likes of big techs and military industrial complexes can afford. AI is a combination of the following technologies: neural networks, natural language processing, and large language models. I'll just briefly describe these three technologies. Neural networks is a technology that simulates the workings of neurons in human brains. The algorithm uses backward propagation or feedback. So the algorithm uses a backward propagation mechanism or feedback of signals passing between the millions of nodes that it has. Each node receives an input and produces an output. Each node has an assigned weight to it. Each node makes a simple decision. Combined together, these nodes develop machine learning. It also allows the machine to correlate complex patterns in digital speech based on its learning. The algorithm is not a complete replica of the human brain, just like a computer model of the weather is not a complete replica of the weather above us. Natural language processing. What is it? It is a technology that enables machines to understand and generate human language, especially in written form. It is now widespread, for example, in help desk systems and browsers. When added to massive neural networks, it produces a large language model. An LLM produces human-like texts, images, and video by predicting the most likely outcomes based on training data. This is what ChatGPT is. To summarize, artificial intelligence draws inspiration from human cognition, but operates at machine level scale and speed. The next section, I'll be talking about the beneficial uses of AI. Now, like any general technology, AI comes with rewards and risks. Here are some examples of beneficial uses of AI. We've got AlphaZero. It's a computer program developed by a British company called DeepMind in 2017. AlphaZero masters the game of chess. Chess used to represent the pinnacle of AI research in its early days. The company was founded by Demis Hassabis from Britain. He later won the Nobel Prize in Chemistry for AI research. The other notable founder is Mustafa Suleyman, another Brit. His father was a taxi driver and his mother an English nurse. Both the founders are family friends from London and studied at Oxford. DeepMind was bought up by Google, and Suleyman now works for Microsoft AI as their CEO. Google AI Mode. Google's AI search engine on our computers handles complex, nuanced searches in natural language, as well as image-led search. For example, you can upload an image of a plant, and ask, what is wrong with my plant? And get a reply back. AI search is growing, but privacy concerns have been reported. Google AI has been known to share your private information with others without your knowledge. ChatGPT, another useful program. I'm sure you've all heard of it. It's a chatbot developed by OpenAI, which now belongs to Microsoft. ChatGPT generates text, speech, and images in response to your prompts. I've used it several times, but I've always had to carefully review its replies, as it's known to hallucinate and provide false replies. The Chinese have released a similar product called DeepSeek. It had cost them 100 times or less to develop compared to ChatGPT. ChatGPT is used regularly by millions, whether for their school or office work, research, or simply to create text, images, and videos. Use of AI in healthcare. AI is prevalent in healthcare, for example, for disease diagnosis, drug discovery, and patient risk identification. The AI systems are fed with ultrasound, magnetic resonance imaging, mammography, genomics, computed tomography scan, and is known to have enhanced patient hospital experience and have sped up preparing patients to continue their rehabilitation at home. AI have been used to diagnose diseases such as Alzheimer, cancer, diabetes, chronic heart disease, tuberculosis, stroke, cerebrovascular disease, hypertension, skin disease, and liver disease. Wave is a British company developing self-driving cars. Founded in Cambridge by Amar Shah and Alex Kendall, Wave plans to introduce their cars in London soon. The US has already introduced thousands of autonomous cars driving around the US. You may have seen Hannah Fry's series on BBC Two called AI Confidential. in her episode called Death by Driverless Car. A driverless car struck and killed a woman crossing the street in Arizona in March 2018. It was the world's first pedestrian fatality by an Uber AI car. Even though the car's detection system saw the person crossing the street, its algorithm could not understand why the person would cross the street, not at a pedestrian crossing, and therefore decided not to apply the brakes. The judge, however, decided that Uber was not responsible for the death of the woman jaywalker because Rafaela Vasquez, the human operator of the car, should have physically applied the brakes. This is an example of where the US laws were behind the curve on AI safety. Let's hope the UK laws will learn from the US. Before I proceed about the other uses, the non-beneficial uses, it's important to understand what AI cannot do. So far, I've been talking about special purpose AI. In other words, AI algorithms achieving specific objectives that they have been made to learn. There is evidence that the AI paradigm is rapidly approaching its internal limits. That artificial general intelligence may never exist. In other words, general human intelligence may never be achieved by AI. Feelings, moods, and emotions, conscience, sentience, these represent mental states brought about by neurophysiological changes in a human. There is no scientific consensus on a definition of these mental states. Consequently, AI cannot be taught to do them. AI is able to simulate feelings using human voices or verbal expressions, but only in a limited sense, as we shall see in the next slides. Finally, the human brain has evolved genetically over millennia. It is evolving in ways that we do not fully understand. The human brain is superior to AI in many ways. For example, we can learn new information just seeing it once, while AI needs to be trained hundreds of times with similar pieces of information. I've seen a clip of a factory in India with hundreds of men folding towels and cameras taking pictures every day for days and days. What they're doing is teaching the machine how to fold towels. So it has to be taught with a lot of energy and resources to do simple things that we can do so far. We can also learn new information while maintaining older ones. We don't lose the previous information. AI has difficulty at the moment retaining previous information, which it replaces. We can generalize about things without any experience. AI can't do that. Some of our best inventions from Einstein, for example, comes from this ability to generalize and conceive of something without actually experiencing it. The human, so this is some of where some of our best ideas come from. Only some humans can achieve this. So in summary, we can confidently say that the human brain is far superior to current machine learning systems. Our brains, however, can be beaten in specific tasks, especially in terms of the speed of decision making. Next section, I'll cover the unethical uses, some examples of AI. Replica, this is a social chatbot available on smartphones. It provides positive feedback and emotional support to their users. It's AI sycophantic chatbots like this, which can influence young and other vulnerable individuals to do things they may otherwise not do, as committing suicide or homicide. Even a single interaction with a sycophantic chatbot can make participants less willing to take responsibility for their behavior and more likely to think they were in the right. Replica was created in the US by Eugenia Koida After a friend of hers died in 2015, she converted that person's text messages into a chatbot. Replica became a replica of that friend. It behaves like a friend to anyone who uses it. Replica featured on Hannah Fry's BBC called The Boy Who Tried to Kill the Queen. A 21-year-old Sikh, Jaswant Singh, was arrested on Christmas Eve after he entered Windsor Castle with a crossbow. He wanted to kill the British Queen to avenge the death of Sikhs massacred in India by the British. Jaswant's actions were influenced by Replica, which advised him where and when he is likely to find the Queen and how to go about killing her. Decisions by algorithm. AI algorithms are increasingly being used by employment agencies and insurance companies. Here, decisions on job applicants and insurance claimants are made by algorithms. A class lawsuit in the US against the CEO of United Healthcare, the largest health insurance company, was featured in Hannah Fry's episode on BBC called Algorithm. The Algorithm Says No. The CEO was assassinated by Luigi Mangione because his company used AI-based decisions to stop treatments of some of their insured patients, leading to the deterioration and sometimes death of the patients. It was later found that some of the AI decisions were incorrect and the patient and would not have been made by expert human physicians. Cases like these are getting increasingly common in economic system where the profit motive overrides the health of their customers. Autonomous weapon systems. While a driverless car with a faulty algorithm may be able to kill a small number of people accidentally, autonomous weapon systems are already in use in warfare, killing hundreds of people. One particular country's military, which I shall not name, has used them extensively in a recent war zone to kill thousands of civilians that included hundreds of children. When their army spokespersons were asked on TV why they're killing children, they calmly stated that they are not responsible for targeting any children. This is because the kill decision is taken by the AI algorithm in their weapon systems. Major war crimes and genocides are therefore being carried out by these AI systems. Palantir, a US company founded by Peter Thiel and Alex Karp, is a prime example of such a company whose weapons have been used in these wars, including the war in Iran. AI is being used in drone swarms, which are groups of autonomous drones that operate collaboratively. They're basically a game changer in modern warfare. Project Maven is an initiative launched by the US Department of Defense to accelerate the adoption of AI across their military industrial complex. I went to a talk yesterday by a British journalist investigating the project. It became quite clear to me how flawed these autonomous weapons are. The algorithms are not fed with any data whether they're killing innocent soldiers, children, or people, because the data can only be obtained from the ground in enemy territory. So they're not getting the feedback. So what sort of weapon are you creating where you don't know if the results are correct or not? This is totally flawed. Therefore, these weapons should be classed as war crime weapons. Bias, surveillance, and control. Now, facial recognition, or AI, and big data analytics are widely being used for population monitoring. Bias coded into algorithms can reinforce historical injustice. Automated decision-making can strip away individual freedoms and deepen existing inequalities. And at the core of this issue is a simple but troubling fact. The more we rely on AI, the more we must ask what values are embedded within its seemingly neutral code. The problem is not just the surveillance itself, but the opacity and the lack of consent. Most people don't know they're being watched. They don't understand how their data is collected or used. And they have little recourse if that data is flawed or used against them, whether by a government agency denying them entry at a border or a corporation denying a loan based on an opaque credit algorithm. AI surveillance erodes privacy, a cornerstone of a cornerstone of democratic life. It chills free expression and political dissent. When people know they're being watched, they self-censor, they conform. Surveillance becomes a form of soft control, not through brute force, but through behavioral nudging, quiet deterrence, and psychological pressure. Palantir's name crops up again here. You may have read about a campaign to stop our government awarding an NHS contract to Palantir, given its highly dubious reputation. Disinformation and brainwashing. The apps running on your mobile phone are constantly being sent back to Google, Facebook, and other big tech corporations on a 24/7 and real-time basis. The AI systems are trained not only to understand your behavior, but also to predict your intended actions, correctly or incorrectly. It is but a small step for them to use this knowledge to slowly but subtly send you disinformation, to modify your behavior, to suit the needs of their corporate clients. Clients could be an extremist party or your current government who may wish to influence your voting at an upcoming election. AI-generated content accelerates disinformation campaigns and fraud, and have been alleged at the last Brexit election. Features of fascism are increasingly being reflected in AI algorithms and AI-driven digital platforms. Decision-making processes are opaque, centralized, and resistant to democratic oversight. Social welfare institutions and insurances use AI in ways that are not transparent to users. Peter Thiel of Palantir fame is known to have donated millions to right-wing parties, including one in the UK that I shall not name, as an example of the potential role of AI in fascism. Jobs and education at risk. Routine physical tasks are at risk. For example, planting, farming, fruit, vegetable picking, standard construction, warehousing, and product assembly and packaging are being done by AI increasingly. Also at risk are repetitive white-collar tasks. Legal reviews, standard medical practices, accounting, bookkeeping, technology support, and software programming are mostly done by AI now. The AI doesn't impact the very high-skilled tasks like brain surgery or non-standard physical tasks like a building site laborer, plumber, plasterer, electrician, demand for which will eventually skyrocket. But potentially 50% of all our current jobs may be at risk, including the fulfilling ones. If this happens, experts say new jobs are unlikely to be created in new areas to any great extent within our lifetime, leading to massive unemployment. In terms of educational risks, my wife Shona was recently talking to a friend, a Latin teacher at a local school. The teacher said that the wide use of ChatGPT is limiting the ability of teachers to give certain types of homeworks to their students. The use of AI is therefore having a negative impact on children's education, and in general, dumbing down the whole of society if you can just use ChatGPT. Software codes are also at risk. Anthropic, an American AI company, has created an algorithm called Mythos, which is too dangerous to release to the public because apparently it is able to discover vulnerabilities in code that have been hidden for decades. In other words, it may be used to carry out cyber attacks for which no defense exists. Security vulnerabilities in popular web browsers and computer systems may be exposed, which could leave users exposed to hacks. There was an article in the Telegraph which said that the banks are worried that their software being hacked if this tool gets in the hand of public. Finally, the AI's thirst for water. Every interaction with AI requires water to keep its technology running. ChatGPT used nearly 1 million liters of water during its pre-training phase. A report from our government predicts an increase of global water usage of 6.6 billion cubic meters by 2027. This is equivalent to more than half of the UK's total water usage. So although water covers 71% of the Earth's surface, only 0.5% is available freshwater. AI's thirst for water is now classified under the risk of biodiversity loss and ecosystem collapse. Considering that many wars in history were over access to water, the outcome could be increasing conflicts and wars in the global south. So what should we do? The future will be a battle between the damaging versus the beneficial uses of AI technology. At this point, it's worth summarizing the pros and cons. On the plus side, AI has the potential to do benefit to our health, improve our health and well-being, such as through early diagnosis and prevention of diseases and highly tailored health advice and medical treatment. It can be used to augment current jobs by meeting unmet needs too difficult for humans, or allowing us to use our expert skills more effectively, which could allow us to focus on mentally interesting and satisfying tasks, giving us more free time to spend with our friends and families or doing good things for others. It can be used to, the power of AI can be used to solve global problems and challenges such as climate change. Or it could simply be a tool for collaboration. But we've seen some of the potential examples of unethical uses, such as in wars and conflicts, in insurance and finance, in employment and job losses. If we choose to roll out AI and apply AI within the current hierarchical social and economic order, we could see it amplifying and reinforcing prevailing inequalities, injustices, and social and geopolitical divisions. So who gets to decide how we use AI? Do our governments really represent what we, the people, want? Will they act for the good of all of us, or will they do the bidding of the powerful corporations that control AI? The most important question is, where does the control lie? My greatest worry is the future of democracies. What is happening is the following. A handful of private corporations, specifically the big tech and the military-industrial complexes, stand out as the principal owners, providers, and controllers of AI. Their AI is increasingly a large part of our daily lives, as well as critical parts of our infrastructure, including the internet. Increasingly, technology is swallowing us in the name of free market. As users, we, the public, are not in control of this technology. The diagram on the left simplifies that. The big tech controls AI that controls citizens. On the right-hand side, you see another example of another country, China, which does the same, a one-party system using AI that controls its citizens. So very similar. The diagram on the right, of course, depicts autocracy. The diagram on the left depicts a plutocracy. This will be the end of democracy as we know it if this model is implemented fully. So what should we do? Regulations. Regulation could be an obvious step for us to take, but it is fraught with difficulty. For one thing, in the time taken to get a regulation legally accepted, the nature of the AI products being regulated is likely to change. Regulation of impersonation and fakes are seriously being considered. Many countries are taking the matter of AI regulation very seriously. Around the world, at least 72 countries have proposed over 1,000 AI-related policy initiatives and legal frameworks to address public concerns around AI safety and governance. The EU AI Act that was started in 21st April 2021. It's a landmark AI Act and that was proposed, it seemed destined to be the first in the world to attempt to enshrine a set of AI regulations into law. However, a year later, after extensive lobbying attempts by Silicon Valley, some of the provisions were watered down. Nonetheless, the Act became law in August 2024 and will come into force by mid-2027 in all EU member states, not including the UK, of course. Meanwhile, the current UK government, like in the US, is spending more effort in encouraging the industry's use of AI and focusing less on these regulations. Ethical frameworks. Like physicians taking the Hippocratic Oath, we could establish an ethical framework covering science and technology. This could ensure scientists and technologists make the right choice in their search for the benefit of humanity. Education and awareness. In the long term, we will need to change our education systems. We need a system that teaches children not to just maintain the status quo, but how to cope with and overcome the negative aspects of AI and to be able to think critically what sort of society and world they would like to live in. In the shorter term, mass awareness campaigns may be needed to educate the working and elder generation of people about what their choices are. Here are some steps each of us can take. Make others aware of the situation, including your children. Discuss potential solutions with others and agree practical steps that can be taken. Support grassroots movements against the negative uses of AI. Speak out and take a public stand where appropriate. Join peaceful protests against the negative uses of AI. Pressurize the government into acting against the negative uses of AI. Boycott products and services from corporations involved in the negative uses of AI. Support corporations and institutions active in the positive uses of AI. Demand responsible investments in pursuit of the positive uses of AI. Avoid debts, especially those offered by banks that invest in the negative uses of AI. And include in the vision of your company the ethical use of AI. We may need collective actions if individual actions are not necessary, but it is within our power to change the world. Thank you. We'll take a half an hour Q&A now.
With one of your slides, you showed how that model where the big tech corporations, they own the technology and how it filters down to us, the dummies who are buying the phones, etc. We own the data. So the technology, the AI is useless without our data. So I'm a management consultant, and one of my roles involve rolling out, helping organizations roll out AI. And through the process, I learned a great deal, too much perhaps, about AI and where we're going. And I got very anxious about protecting my data. And this phone that I have here, I'm just going to share with you as an example. You talk about Google phones, etc. This operates exactly like a smartphone, bought from France, and they're very popular in America. They're called privacy phones. So we all know about the normal phones, we know about the burn phones that the criminals and the politicians use, but there's something for the mainstream in the middle. And with this one, you can block your geolocation, you can block the apps talking to each other. There's so many you can block your data being shared. And I don't know if you know about every single app that you have on your phone. The apps can talk and interfere with each other, and built into the apps are trackers of you. And I only have this phone a month, and it gives me like a dashboard of all of the different apps and the trackers inside them and how many it's blocked. So you own your data, and when it comes to the NHS and Palantir, I would encourage you to really think about your private information, who has it, and opt out where you can.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry, that was a bit long.
Just to comment, yes, it is not just it is our data. Our exhaust is being captured, but currently it's captured by somebody else. And they sell it, and even your identity is their identity. They graciously give you your email address or whatever. We should control that.
Yeah, thank you very much, Grant. I attended an event on Wednesday at the Geophysics Club at Frontline Club in Paddington, and the lady speaking was, I think, probably the lady you mentioned. Was it Katrina Manson, the book on Maven?
Maven, I think it's that lady, yes.
Yeah, but my question is, you declined to mention Israel by name, and you declined to mention the Gaza war by name. My question is why? I do have a copy on my device of P.W. Singer's Ghost Fleet. That's from 2016, and I would urge everybody here to look at that book, but also look at Mark Bennett's and Edward Lucas in the Times this week. They both referred to Palantir. Mark Bennett has an interview with Palantir, but it's in the context of something Palantir is doing, which might not be in your community. I would urge everybody to look at those two articles and say to people, if you think Palantir's use in the context of those articles is wrong, we say so. So, seriously, we all know you were referring to Israel and Gaza, so I'm just puzzled as to why you didn't mention them by name.
I didn't want to specifically point out, I mean, there's a completely different consideration, countries or individuals. The fact that they're doing it now, whoever you mentioned, others could be doing it. Our government supports the same thing. So pointing out one is not the issue, is the doing of it by anybody and us supporting him, that's the problem. I mean, by the way, I did give a talk to the U3A on this, and I mentioned the country. And there was a person, obviously, from that country who didn't like it. So I didn't want to offend the person in the audience for whatever reason.
I am aware of the country you don't like, and that is a bigger country, much further east.
Thank you for a superb talk. You mentioned that at one stage AI can hallucinate, and I was fascinated by that, and I'm tempted to ask whether it can help me to. But you also then later said that it isn't sentient, but presumably it could be taught to be sentient, and as I understand it, that's focus of current research. It's an extension of avoiding knocking over an old lady on the road. Thank you.
So the question was, can machines be taught? So I'm doing it for Zoom speakers, Zoom attendees. The question is whether machines can be sentient or not, because at one point...
So what you meant by AI hallucinating?
Because I mentioned AI hallucinating. I believe from what I've read that we don't really understand sentience or consciousness. Who am I? Is a huge question that we haven't answered. If we don't know, how can we teach a machine how to know? So we are way behind in knowing ourselves before we can even teach machines. And they learn by specific examples. And this is too philosophical to be taught in like folding towels type of business. So from what I've read, they just don't understand all these emotions, consciousness and sentience. That's what I've read.
And AI hallucinating with.
Oh, AI hallucinating is examples because it doesn't like making mistakes. It knows what it knows, and it confidently asserts incorrectly, but confidently, almost like hallucinating, like the sycophantic AI saying, yes, you're so good. So in that sense, whatever it knows, it asserts it's very confidently, including hallucinating on things.
Excellent and scary talk. I read a really worrying article recently about people called jailbreakers. So when the big AI systems are set up and sold to people, made available, there are safeguards to prevent them telling you how to kill somebody, how to make a bomb, how to create a poison that could kill thousands of people. And then there are teams of jailbreakers, hackers, other people like that, who work out to see if they can persuade the machine to break out of these safety guidelines. And it gave an account of a very skilled person using words almost like you might groom somebody to have sex with you, that you would use emotional blackmail, use a whole series of emotional verbal techniques, and sometimes you'd be successful. You would persuade the machine to break its safety guidelines. Now, some of these jailbreaker people are then giving the information back to the companies so that they can close these loopholes. Others are not. They're doing it for whatever reasons, but they're not on the side of making the world safer. They're doing it to prove that they can bend the machine in this way. And that's obviously, I'm wondering if the central problem is in trusting machines with words when we know that words are so slippery. They can be used for deception, for pressurizing people to do bad things. That once you hand over words to machines, who knows where that will end up?
So your question is?
Well, is the real danger trusting machines to make their own decisions with language?
That's a very good question. Should we trust machines based simply on language? Absolutely agree. Language is, I mean, when I trust somebody, sometimes I don't have to talk. I can just trust because of the actions you do, the way you look, or whatever. Machines don't understand any of that. So language is only a small part of our tools that we use. I think the human will not be whole just on languages, because languages come with also meanings that are dual and different. So it can lead to all sorts of problems. So I agree with your point. Language by itself is not going to lead to a whole machine.
Thank you for the talk. I am an AI optimist, and professionally that is my role, and that's because there is a danger that we have two groups emerging in the AI debate space, and this is such an important topic. We have the people who want you to drink the Kool-Aid, all of the big tech companies that you mentioned that are seeing AI as the only way forward. And we also have the fear community. And so there's a really important reason to be optimistic in this space, which is it's actually the strategy to create that human flourishing that we can use this technology for. And everyone in this room is here on a Saturday morning because you care and you have a view of how the world should be, and you actually deeply consider things. And what is really important is that we don't let the fear of the negative possibility abdicate our engagement with creating the tomorrow that we want to live in. And I think it's really important to recognise that some of the issues that have been raised here are education issues. You can actually learn how to use AI so that you're managing the bias, so that you are choosing the technologies that are in the open source space or local and have privacy, where you have control over data. Or if you don't have the right education, you end up in a space where you are giving a lot of control to people who want to create a future that I certainly don't want to live in. But as an AI optimist, it is not about sticking our heads in the sand. It's actually about recognizing that there's a really important moment in time right now where we actually do have to take action. But some of the individual action we need to take is to be educating ourselves and others around us so that we can actually be actively participating in this. And I encourage everyone in this room to come and talk to Beth and myself about what we're doing in Harpenden on that agenda, because what I wouldn't want everyone in this room to do going away from this talk is to try and reject the reality of the world that we're living in. And a lot of those unethical uses of AI are actually human issues. The choices that people are making. Replica is about the choice of guardrails that a human designer is putting into a system and allowing how it's being used. You can equally be using the same technology and the same approach for something that could support human flourishing, that can support the way humans engage with nature. And so that's what we actually need to create. And what we have is the technology so powerful that everyone here can contribute in a way 100 times more effectively to create the world that they want to live in tomorrow than they could before this technology. And learning how to give yourselves that power is what I really, really encourage everyone here to do, because you're who we need to be taking part in this. I'm sorry that was long, but I think it's really important to make sure that we leave with the right intention for ensuring we do the right things, because the agenda here is exactly what we need.
Thank you. Now, for people on Zoom, the person was saying that we need to be optimistic. The technology can be used for good. I mean, I myself am an optimist anyway. The purpose of the talk is to make people aware, because closing your eyes is not a way to decide. As I say, it's like a knife. You can use it to butter or kill somebody. Your decision, how you're going to use it. So that's why I'm saying use it for the good. Next question.
Hi everybody, my name is John, and I, like others, thank you for the great speech. It was really really, it was more realistic talk for the AI. And I just like to add what the previous speaker was talking. I like to add to that. I'm also very positive, and I like simplicity, so I just like to share some kind of a simple scenario. I use AI for myself in terms of the normal user, not as you know the professional or pro company. As normal user, I use it for, let's say, 2 scenarios. I make car accident and I need to make claim, for example. I wrote it down in my own way. Then I have just given to the AI to reformat basically, and the outcome was much better than my claim. Made me aware of many strong points, weaknesses. So I was very proud that I used it. And on other scenario, I have one flat to rent it out. I'm looking for the what they need to cover as a landlord, checklist. Now this, if you go to the state agent, it is cost. So I did what I know, and they again give it to the AI to reformat, and basically the outcome, a fantastic part, giving me their point of view, and also guiding me to the, for example, the other places where I can find data, and was in somehow very realistic solution. It's not like forcing you to use or changing your mind. But all I can say that it was very positive. And again, I just like to add to, he didn't introduce himself, but previous speaker, let's say, encourage everyone to use it. This is new technology, and like any other technology, it can be used for bad and then good. And your example for inventing the knife, this is a good example. You can use knife for, for food cutting and also for cutting the head. So it's up to you. Thanks for sharing.
Thank you.
I'm very proud.
Thanks. Thank you.
Mention education. Standards in education have gone down, down, down with the development of the internet and AI. And one country in Scandinavia has recognised it and has gone back to books. Now, that gives them an advantage, surely, in humanity, insofar as they will be learning to think for themselves rather than being controlled by AI companies. And we all know that AI and the internet is very carefully designed to be addictive so that it can make money for those who run the systems and generally consolidate opinions which are not always reasonable. So it's a very dangerous way to go. And my own experience this morning is quite interesting because at one point someone arrived and immediately was on their phone, missed a lot of your screen pictures, and that went on for, I don't know, about a quarter of an hour before I got fed up with him and said something. Now, I don't wish to get at him, but this is classical. We all hear stories of people being on their phones or a screen of some sort up to 13 hours a day. And that is controlling people.
Yep. Agree.
So, should we come off?
Somebody else has done that, please. I'd just like to not leave it in the room that the standard of education has gone down and down. That is absolutely not the case. And I speak to Thank you.
I'll just briefly respond as well, and Sally just said, you said as a mum of teenagers, that actually when you asked initially whether I'm worried about AI, actually that doesn't even touch the surface. I mean, I am literally petrified, not just for me, because obviously, we're all going to be here just for a matter of moments, really, in the life of the planet, but for children, I think, there is some validity in what you say about the addiction of social media in particular and artificial intelligence in that sphere. And I do think that it is absolutely up to us to ensure that our children are protected from the people who wish them harm through social media. But it is people, it's not the device itself, it's the people who are controlling our children, programming, telling them to do whatever it is. Self-harm is one of the horrendous things that's happening every day. Which you've taught and charities like that have to deal with. So there's a lot that you've said which does ring true, because I don't think it would be the right response just to say, right, well, it's just, you have to just take it all away. Because it's here. You know, those children in Scandinavia will have books in school. They'll go home and go straight into the fire. They'll have that. I can tell you without any doubt at all, the children now, their education is absolutely superb. My children are learning things way beyond anything that I ever did, and actually, you know, unfortunately, longer ago than I'd like to admit. But you know, their maths, their history that my daughter was telling me about was genuinely really impressive. So I really would like to contribute on that point. It does say that your concerns are real about the addiction and also the manipulation that people have to deal with online. That is all very real, but the response is not, right, we just have to take it all away, we just have to deny it's there. It's here to stay. And it's, as Hugo said, it's how we shape it, how we regulate it, how we control it, and what protections we put in place for our children.
I agree. I mean, we are, it's a very complex and nuanced topic, and we are living in a complex world. We have to realize we are already under a lot of control by forces we don't understand. So be aware, awake, and then be able to somehow push in the good direction, all of us, is what we need to do. Tony, after that.
Yeah. I'm interested in what you have to say about the business model involved with AI. Vast amounts of capital is being invested in data centers, and it seems to be moving headlong at a fantastic pace. And all this is going to have to get feedback. It's going to get payback somehow. And the compulsion to make money out of this is tremendous now because of the sheer resources involved. We mentioned water and energy as well. I suspect that these companies are not going to find it easy to adhere to regulation when the compulsion is to get that money back.
Yeah, I agree. I guess a lot of us are retired and our funds are in big investment funds that are changing. So we're all sort of guilty in a way, but what choice do we have, really?
A bit of a general question, really, but it's interesting in one sense. The United Nations stands for a better place for everyone within the nature. And the question is really, because AI can produce some very positive outcomes, and also, as you espoused, some very negative outcomes also. Most people in the world want a better place. There'd be very few people that you ask anywhere in the world, do you want a better place or do you not want a better place? Well, the answer is obvious. So my question is, do you think that the advancement of AI, contrary to what we're seeing at the moment, which everyone thinks is like the demolition of democracy, actually may result in more democracy? Because the people that control AI in a beneficial way for their own people, which ultimately is going to happen, because we just can't have an unregulated monster running around uncontrolled. That countries that look after their people and AI are likely to be those in a democracy. The people will see the benefits. Do you think that, it's a question for you, do you think that we are, on the back of AI development, likely to see more democracy or less?
It's a good question. Do I think the world will become more democratic as a result of AI? We could possibly do. I mean, it'd be fantastic if we have to wake up first and realize where we are first. Once we realize, I think our impulse will be to do 7 billion of us what maybe 300 million rich could do. They cannot resist if 7 billion people decide to go that way. But we have to wake up, and not lemmings going over the cliff. So I think the potential could be fantastic. We could, even before religion came, we could do things that were good to humanity, good to the planet, because we're woken up and realize it's a bit like waking up to Trump. Before that, it was maybe America was. So what he's doing is absolutely negative. So we're coming to a stage where we may wake up and say, hang on, this is certainly, I didn't sign up to this. So we could, if we wake up and be aware, decide to do the right thing. As an optimist, I'm saying that. Yeah.
Those that control around your data, better help the data there. And so, who are the companies, who are the governments who control what we look at? And I would mind your comments on the knowledge of different sectors. One of the things we've learned recently is that Europe's quite exposed or has different values from others in the Western Alliance. How are we looking at that in the future of owning it as more a British or a European of AI?
So the two questions: who is controlling us? What are these companies? And is UK, the governments, are we heading in the same direction as the EU or not? There's a good book written by Professor Shoshana Zuboff of Harvard called Surveillance Capitalism. It's quite a thick book. It tells you not who, but how have they been doing it. When you do a search, for example, on the internet, there's a lot of what they call data exhaust. When did you wake up? What time did you search? Did you talk to another person? All these data are correlated to begin to understand you and your behavior. Sorry.
British firms involved, European and American. Now we have maybe three major players in one.
Yep.
As it's centered elsewhere, we rely on subsea cables which are exposed, etc. So the whole security of this, and so who owns the companies who provide it, I think is a big issue against people.
I think in very simple terms, it has to be people with power, i.e. people with money. But not all rich people are necessarily bad. So I'm hoping one day Musk will wake up and decide to be good. I don't know if he'll do that. But sometimes good things do happen from the elite, or the king becomes good. There are examples in history where we had good kings, benevolent dictator. But generally, it's the people with money. So you can almost say, who are these companies? The big tech, the big pharma, the big banks.
And China against the US in terms of owning the internet, whereas Europe, whereas Britain,
Right.
they in the control of that information.
Right. Yeah, the question of China is very intriguing. Tony and I are hoping to visit China, not that we'll discover who's controlling who in China, but and we don't know so little about China because not many reliable books written by Chinese that are that we have access. But it'd be interesting to understand what they're doing with the same technology. Is it for the people or for the elites? Maybe they're having the same battle, but they're probably more able to control that because they have an autocrat sitting at the top. If the vision of the autocrat is for the people, then probably you live under slavery, but you're all it's like all slaves having a good time, right? Two more questions.
From your point about us needing to wake up, I thought it's really a really important point. And to your point about what people actually want in that store, actually, of course, everyone wants a better choice. I actually say that this technology is actually not low-key energy. It's actually a trickster, because whilst we're talking about all of the dangers of how it can destroy humanity, actually, it's more likely to be a forcing function to perhaps human awakening. so for people to do how to create that tomorrow. And that's simply because our economic system and what the industrial complex has been built on has been on doing being a foundation of our economy. And when you're talking about the jobs economy, the jobs that actually are going to be moving are the ones where the cost of doing is dropping down towards zero. And so that creates an economic break, which causes lots of issues. But on the other side of that, it means that we need to actually be looking at how to build an economy based on being. And when being becomes your core economic value, you're going to have to wake up, because you can't just rock up Tom over and start typing into a computer to create that value. So actually, when you think about the consequences of what's happening, it's actually going to be a really amazing opportunity.
Thank you.
For people to win.
Thanks. One last question. Okay.
Thank you, Suheil, for what has sparked a very good debate. And the most important question, which I hope you might be able to answer, is, you know, where are the values going to come from that you mentioned right at the beginning, or Tony did, the values that are enshrined in the United Nations, which may be missing from the systems that we're talking about. They could be put in, but they don't have to be put in. And so that raises to me the question, or does the United Nations itself have a part to play? Because this is a worldwide problem, isn't it? That's under control of multinational organisations. Surely the UN is the place where this all needs to be sorted. Is it on their agenda? And does UNA UK have a part to play in allowing us to contribute to that debate?
Good question. What part does the UN have in this? Yes, AI is a big topic, but currently, as you know, the world order is shaky. And when you have a shaky foundation, you can't really govern very well because people are fighting with each other. So we need to stabilize the world order first. Maybe we need a different order. Maybe there's something wrong with our current capital order or whatever order we have. We need to stabilize that. And then, yes, it'll have to be a concern of the governing layer, the United Nations, to have regulations, because this thing can going around the world. I mean, the technology, you can't just tweak it in one country. It has to be tweaked everywhere. It has to be a UN-led function. But the UN at the moment is having difficulty because we are unstable. The member states are fighting with each other. So we need to find a way of coming up with a better order of the world where, a bit like the, European Union or ASEAN or some big regional collaboration, so that one isn't much bigger than the other. Because if you're big, the tendency, I'm going to take you over. You need to stabilize regions so that the regions are more or less focused on balance, cooperation, and then anything is sort of collaborative. And then UN will play a great part.
Thank you very much for that.
Sure.
Well.
Thank you. Please feel. Thank you. Feel free to have coffee. We have put some questions on a piece of paper and some pictures in the cafeteria for you to read and discuss with yourselves. Thanks for coming again. Thank you. Douglas, thank you for coming. If you have any questions, just email me.
Thank you. It was very, very interesting indeed.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thanks.